Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle. Monday morning, a new week. Two fresh-faced young presenters for you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can't tell if you just listen to the podcast, of course, but Kev has shaved his stubble off. And he tells me it will be Christmas before he needs to have another shave because it grows back so slowly. I think that's rubbish. Kev, how the devil are you doing, mate? I haven't seen you since you were on holiday and all sorts.
I know we haven't been on one together for donkeys, so I'm really excited for tonight. Well, today, because people listen on Monday morning, but we record it on a night time. But yeah, I'm good and I am fresh faced, but it's mainly just because I'm sick of stubble. I can't grow a beard, Ian. That's a problem. I'm not a man like you. I'm not a real man. I can only grow a little bit of stubble, so it will be Christmas by the time I need another shave.
Well, if I'll have Santa's beard if I would let it grow till Christmas. But anyway, another first for me tonight, which I've just realised, is that I am hosting tonight's podcast lying down, which is
genius.
quite amazing.
Genius. Don't fall asleep.
I'm recording away from home, and the only room that I can get a bit of peace and quiet has got a bed and nothing else in. It's not a prison cell, but there's nowhere for me to stand the laptop other than
his reaction to a Celtic game. He's been locked up and he's staying in the prison for tonight.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. However, I'm quite relaxed. I wasn't feeling relaxed yesterday, of course, because the footy's back, and I paid me money, and I tuned in, and I thought, oh, it's Newcastle are back. We've got Alexander. He's coming on to the second half. It was so exciting to sit and watch them play away at Celtic in the first warm-up game of the pre-season, and I've got to be honest, Kev, I was a bit disappointed. We got absolutely taken to the cleaners. 2-0 in each half, so we lost 4-0 overall. The whole squad was playing virtually, apart from those recovering from injury, bar one or two notable absentees, which we're going to discuss later on. But first things first, let's talk about the footy. It's a game review.
Nice.
It was what we expected, I think. Virtually two separate 11s for a half each. It's how they had approached the game against Carlisle last weekend behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And we did start with quite a strong team, I thought. Pope in goal, Trippier, Shah, Botman, Target. But I mean, we needed some left back because Paul's injured, of course.
Yep.
And then we had Bruno in midfield with Miley and Willock. Try to remember now. Asulo playing down the middle, with Murphy on the right and Barnes on the left.
That was it.
That's quite a first team choice, really. I mean, I know we would probably bring two or three other players in, but they've all got first team experience. And what were your impressions, Kev? Because we did get schooled a little bit.
We did, but I wasn't expecting anything massive, regardless of a team lineup. I think it was, nobody talks about this, but it was Celtic's 5th pre-season friendly, because obviously their season starts a little bit earlier. So it was their 5th friendly against our first. So we were obviously going to be off the boil a little bit and off the pace. Boys have just come back from pre-season training. I'm imagining a lot of fitness in I think we're in Austria. So obviously a flight back and all that stuff, and not being home for anything. And first game against the 5th game. And Celtic, before playing us on the 16th of July, beat Sporting Lisbon, who are a really good team as well. So Celtic are well into their kind of journey to start their new season. They're fully underway, and Celtic are probably at 90%, 95% of what they're capable of, I think, because it's their 5th game. But it's Newcastle's first. We were miles off it. We did get spanked a little bit. But the result, to me, it doesn't matter too much. It's about getting minutes in my legs. I'm not too worried. There was some good impressions. I thought Alex Murphy did well.
This will make you feel a little bit better before we get onto individual performances. Last year, in pre-season, Celtic put 4 past Manchester City and Chelsea.
Yeah.
So, we're in good company.
Earlier. Yeah.
Aren't we? We are in good company. And I think 2 or 3 extra weeks hard training makes a massive, massive difference.
Definitely.
When Celtic's a pretty good team anyway, Champions League team this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting into the individual performances. Highlights I think we're going to have to talk about is Nick Pope. Nick Pope's God,
Clanger.
what was he doing there? It
Absolute
was a
clanger.
clanger. It was a clanger. And it feeds into something we're going to talk about on our transfer window as well later on. But how do you think that first team squad performed in the first half, Kev?
They were just, you could tell they were off it. Like the press was slow. They weren't reactive enough in terms of when Celtic were kind of trying to come at us and play out from the back. We just seemed so far for Boyle. I mean, Pope's clanger was horrendous, but I keep saying to people, I'd much rather them drop a clanger in a pre-season game where it means nothing than do it on the first game of the season and cost us 2 or 3 points. So get all the clangers out of the way now. Get all the mistakes out now, lads. That's good. That's a good thing. I'm trying to keep a positive spin on everything. But I think overall, with kind of how we played, I think we tried to implement what Howe wants in terms of high press and high intensity, but we just didn't have it in us compared to Celtic. It was, like I say, Celtic are just 4 or 5 weeks ahead of us in terms of pre-season, and that is, it's a full month. We're a full month ahead of us, and it showed. We were a lot sharper, we were a lot quicker, we were a lot better in terms of pressing us. It pressed us really well where we were kicking the ball out of play, and we looked a bit out of sorts. We just didn't look right. But I guess from Howe's point of view, once the third one went in and all the kids started coming on, Neve, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but all the youngsters came on. And it was a case of, right, let's just get minutes in everybody, get the big guns off, let's avoid injury. This is what we've got to do now. And I think it's all about fitness at this stage. So yeah, not good performance, but I mean, it's all right.
Well, I don't know if we should switch straight on to the second half. I don't really want to talk about Nick Pope, but that's not the first
No.
time he's come herring out of his box and being undone by seemingly a ball that is too simple to have to deal with because it literally just bounced over him. Um, I thought Alanga showed a few flashes in the second half. You could see his pace,
Couple of little flicks as well. Nice little flicks
little
inside.
flicks and things. Yeah, I thought Murphy did very well at left back.
Alex Murphy, yeah.
I thought Joe White did pretty well, actually. I mean, I suggested him a couple of weeks ago as maybe if we sold Willock and Longstaff, we wouldn't have to buy two midfielders to replace them because if he could do a job. But I thought he did all right. Neve and the guy that did look quite good in midfield, who's obviously a few years younger than Joe White, Hearns, came on.
Yeah.
I
Hearns
thought
impressed me
he,
more than White, yeah.
I thought he showed willing. And I did think at the various stages, certainly in the first half, that Asula showed he's got some pace and he's got some aggression. I mean, he was getting in front of the defenders who thought they had him covered several
Yeah.
times. I mean, he did sweep Fanny Adams with it once he got there, but I mean, that's the hardest part, isn't it?
hmm hmm I think Asula's just so raw, isn't he? He's got all the makings of, especially just because of his attitude and his sheer mentalness, which isn't a word, but how crazy he is. He's got the opportunity to be a proper cult hero, but he's so raw. I can see why. I know fans were screaming out for Asula to get minutes at the back end of last season, but I can see why Howe was a little bit more reserved. He just needs polished. But I think it's weird because I think he's got the physicality of kind of what Wilson had at Wilson's peak. He's strong and he's a big lad. He's fast. He can win headers, but he's also got really good feet. Not as good as Isak, but he's almost like a combination of them two. So I'm hoping he fulfills his potential and he actually genuinely becomes a squad player this season coming. But we'll see, I guess.
Now, I know we're going to talk about this in part two. Uh, no sign of Isak or Joe Linton, which is fine. They were both injured at the end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Howe said beforehand that they were managing the minutes, um, and therefore we, of course, expected to see them with the squad, having flown back from Germany, sitting
Yeah.
cheering them on in the crowd. But Isak wasn't there. And the fact that he wasn't there and that Eddie Howe said after the game, no, I sent him home. I sent him home so he wasn't distracted by all of the noise around him. That's given all sorts of conspiracy theories oxygen. And there is so much flying around about our, our our talisman. That's who we need to keep. We just turned down 120 million plus from Liverpool for him. Well, we're going to have to delve a bit deeper in here
Yeah.
and see what might be going on, Kev. Let's draw a veil hastily over a bit hammering off Celtic and hope that we can get some decent days training in. Maybe say Tino coming back. Maybe see Isak and Joe Linton coming back before we play Arsenal next week.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ken was saying, there he went. Part 2, The Disappearing Alexander Isak. Well, my interpretation of what's gone on with this chap is that Liverpool made a soft inquiry as to whether we might be able to sell him if they were prepared to smash the British transfer record. We said, no way, Jose. And they then said, well, if you don't do that, we're going to have to go after Ekatike, which we know you're looking at. Now, did you think it was bullying? I thought that's the natural thing for them to do. If they can't get the best striker, go for the next best striker who's available, which was Ekatike.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy that they've gone and done that and left us with Isak. Surely that closes the door on Isak going anywhere until our owners, through a different team that they own, say that they want to buy Isak, which is strange. And they're going to
Mm.
talk. 200 million was mooted. I was hoping it was going to be us starting to take a leaf out of the Chelsea book. Let Al Hilal buy Isak for 200 million, and as part of that deal, which happens all the time, have them loan him back to us for the next 2 seasons. Now that would be nice, wouldn't it? Why are they not
That would be
talking about
amazing.
that?
I mean, it would be amazing if that happened, but imagine if we even tried to do what Chelsea did, how quickly the Premier League would close us down and say it's not fair market value and all this rubbish. I think the Al Hilal one's so weird because obviously it's very similar, and I don't know if I think it is the same owners technically, but I don't really run the club. But I genuinely can't see that happening at all. Or even maybe there's been somebody say inside the club, I'd like Isak, well, as everybody would. I think every club in the world would like Isak.
Yeah,
And I think someone's then just been a fly on the wall or somehow got a hold of that information and been like, oh, Al Hilal now want them. And it's like, I just don't, I genuinely don't see. I think, I genuinely, I sound crazy saying this, but I think it was just at the minute some sort of agenda to try and disrupt Newcastle. It's like, Newcastle want Mbeumo, right? Man U's going to go get him, so we'll stop them from getting him. And then Newcastle want Trafford, right? Okay, we're going to stop that happening because Man City's got a buyback clause, so we'll get Man City to get him. Newcastle want Ekitike, right? Liverpool will come and get him. Newcastle want Joe Pedro. Chelsea will come and get him. It's like I said it before. It's like a Mr. Bean sketch where he keeps looking over the other guy's paper all the time to get answers, and it's just every other club looking at Newcastle's transfer wish list and thinking, well, they must know what they're doing because we've done really well. We're just going to take whoever Newcastle want. But I don't think there's much. I think Isak's staying. I think it was Luke Edwards said, for those hard of hearing, there's absolutely zero chance of Isak leaving unless it's an absolute astronomical bid, which in our eyes would be 200 million plus. I think there's no chance, absolutely no chance of Isak leaving this window unless we somehow sign Lamine Yamal and I don't know who's the other massive striker. Mbappe. I doubt we'll get either of them two, but unless them two come in, I think Isak's pretty safe.
well, I wish I had your confidence, Kev, because I think Al Hilal, who are looking to, they've still got 8 years yet before they host the World Cup, and they want to be on a par with the rest of the world. I
We can
mean,
have
Al
him in
Hilal
for
did
you.
knock they
We
did
can
knock
have
Man
him in
City out of
Liverpool.
the World Cup. So yeah, and that was reported by, I think it was, I've forgotten the fella's name, but I think it was a senior Sky Sports reporter in Italy, I think, or Germany, one of the two. Anyway, it was a really, really solid source that reported Al Hilal's interest in Isak. Now, whatever. If he went and sat in the crowd alongside Joe Linton, waved at the fans for a little bit, and then went back in the coach to Newcastle before they get prepared to fly out to Singapore. I think they're going to first. There wouldn't have been anybody talking about anything, would there? It's the fact that Eddie Howe he admitted, he sent him home because he didn't want him distracted by all of the attention that he would have got. Now, would he have got attention sitting in the crowd at Celtic Park? I don't think he would have done. I don't think he would have got anywhere near the attention he's got now because Eddie's sent him home. I
Yeah.
just was reading all sorts of things about Isak's gone on strike. Isak's refused to play.
Nah.
Now, I think Eddie said he was never going to play in this game
Mm.
because we're managing his minutes. But I just don't get the sending him home thing, and that's just sort
Yeah.
of
It is a bit
stirred up a whole
strange.
lot.
Yeah. I don't know if Howe was maybe worried about the fan reaction from Newcastle fans, even though obviously he's still held really well with us. He's held in high regard. I don't know what the thinking is, to be honest, but I like what Howe's been honest. I like that we haven't just got he was never going to play this game, he's at home doing whatever. I like he was like, look, there's loads of speculation about him. I decided to send him home. I think it's what's best for my player. And then he did follow up after that when he got asked again in the proper post-match conference. He did say that as far as he's concerned, he expects Isak to be here this season. So he did kind of correct himself after he had time to think about maybe how he worded it or how he said it. But it was on Sky Sports about 2 or 3 hours after the game that Howard he came out and said, well, actually, I expect him to be here. I can't say anything for certain because you never know. But I fully expect him to be a Newcastle player come the start of the season. So I think Howe maybe just made a slight mistake or didn't really pick his words as wisely as what he normally does. His guard was maybe a little bit down with it being a pre-season friendly. But yeah, you're right. If he sat in the stands and give us a wave, I don't think it would really matter that much. But I still don't think it matters that much that he sent him home. He's our player. I can't see him not being our player unless we sign, like I say, an absolute world-class striker. Gone are the days of Ashley just cashing in on anybody when he can. I think unless there's a solid plan there. I think if Ekitike had come in, we might be having a different conversation now with Al Hilal on the table. It might be a bit like, well, we've got a replacement. Can we now get 200 million for him? But with us not signing a striker, I can't see him leaving until we sign somebody big.
Well, I would hope that you're right. I much prefer going down the line that Al Hilal will give us market value for him, which we know is in excess of 150, and in the terms of the transfer, loan him back to us for a season. That happens all the time.
It
When you're
does, but I
buying
don't
young
think
kids,
Newcastle aren't allowed to do that. I don't think we get threats so different. Like these FFP rules were brought in because we have our owners. Imagine if our owners then give us 150 million, but let us keep a player for 2 years. I don't think there's any rules to stop it, but I bet you would find a way. The Premier League would bring in some sort of emergency meeting, and Liverpool would pipe up about how it's not fair market value and all this crap and how he shouldn't be getting loaned back. It would cause carnage. I'd love to see us do it, Ian. I'm with
I
you.
know.
But
Let's just
imagine the
disrupt them.
reaction. Imagine the
Let's
reaction.
disrupt them. Okay, well, let's hope we can see Isak continue to have a smile because Isak in training in Germany had plenty of smiles on his face,
Yeah.
white water rafting and all the
I think he's
rest of it.
happy. I think he's happy.
I
I
know.
think he'll be here. I think a lot of it is media talk. I think they want to unsettle Newcastle a little bit, and we know. Look, the media know how reactive and how over the top Newcastle fans can be sometimes, and the media want to get clicks and they want to get reactions, and we know that the Newcastle fan base is going to give them most reactions. So if they can start talking about Isak leaving and going to Liverpool, or he wants Liverpool, or he wants Al Hilal and all. They just want reactions and clicks. So I'm not too worried. Isak looks happy. He sounds happy. And Howe says he's confident he's going to be here for next season. So that's enough for me at the minute, I think. Unless we sign a superstar, I think he's going to be there.
There are no superer stars than Alex Isak,
There
though.
you go.
So yeah, let's at least see him one more time in the Champions League for us. Get us pushed
Yeah,
through to the semi-finals or something. Go on.
the final.
Anyway,
Imagine.
I want to talk about the transfer market for
The
us and where
whirlwind.
we are with it in part three. It has been by and large quite disappointing. You've already mentioned a ludicrous a ludicrous conspiracy theory that the rest of the Premier League are conspiring just to pick every single player that we're.
Don't let
It's
Newcastle
not.
sign anybody.
There is a different reason for it, Kevin, and I'll explain it to you in part 3.
Oh, thank you
But
very
before
much.
that, please give us the Zencaster advert. Do the OG, mate.
Yeah, old school. I haven't done this for ages, but we'll give it a go. Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. And let me tell you about a platform we use here at the Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencaster makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all the ums, ahs, and your nahs, and 22 other speech patterns. God, this is all messed up. Zencaster makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster. And that link is definitely still in the show description, even though that's an old advert.
It is. All the links are in the show description.
Educate us,
Part
Ian.
3.
What's happening? Educate me in the
Well,
transfer window.
tell me what you
What's
think.
happening?
It's a theory of mine.
Come on.
We have had a complete change of philosophy when it comes to buying players. All of our success since the takeover has been in unearthing gems. I don't mean discovering brand new talent at all, but they've been on doing the proper research, finding somebody who we think this fella is going to be world class. Not world class yet. Finding a Bruno, finding a Botman, finding a Tonali, moving in, bringing them through 18 months, 2 years later. They are world class at Newcastle. And nobody's been competing with us to get those. People might have looked at them because they've looked at 10 up and coming midfield players that look like they could be good. We haven't done that this transfer window. What we've done is thought, right, got no PSR restrictions, so we've got a few million or 150 million to spend, and we've gone shopping straight to the top table. We've gone after the sort of players that Man City want, or Liverpool want, or Chelsea want. When it comes down to, well, we can pay for João Pedro, they're saying that Chelsea can pay for João Pedro, which might be the transfer fee, but not on the wages. I don't know how much Chelsea are paying him in wages, but it'll be a lot more than we would have
It'll
offered
be
him.
astronomical, yeah.
They can. They've got the clout to be able to, meet the same transfer fees that we can now meet. But what have we got? Gordon and Bruno at 160,000 as our top performers, top payers.
Yeah.
I guess Isak's going to have to be offered a lot more than that to get him to sign an extension to his contract. But we are seeing, I think we're reaping the fruits of changing our transfer philosophy too early. I don't mind us going for a good player and sticking with him. When we've got a little bit of an edge, Anthony Elanga knows half the Newcastle squad from having
Great
been
signing.
at Man United training camps with him when he was 16,
Mhm.
or playing in the national team with Isak and with Kraft. Having turned upon Osula's TikTok for so many years because they
Mhm.
were at this training camp years ago. Botman was there. Mental. That's why we get Elanga. Elanga's another player that the elite teams could have gone after, but they didn't because they knew the edge that we had. So I say, can you stop trying to buy the sort of players that these elite teams are wanting to buy as well, and go back to what you do best? Nixon is fantastic. He must have a huge black book of talent that nobody has particularly discovered yet. Maybe that's where Scalvini comes from, although
Yeah.
he's 50 million plus. But I haven't heard of anybody else going after him yet. There are two other guys. There's another centre half in Italy and a centre half at Valencia who have been scouted. They're under 21 internationals. This is a sort of player that we want to bring in and watch the 35, 40 million that we spend on them become 75, 80 million after a season and a half. That's what we've done before. That's what we did with Anthony Gordon. Took a chance, if you like, earlier than the elite teams were willing to take it. And we
Yeah.
cashed in on Bruno, on Tonali, on Botman, on Gordon. Less so on Barnes, but I'm not sure Barnes has got that much ceiling that Gordon had when we got him.
Yeah. I
So
think Barnes was a here and
I'll
now
shut
one,
up
wasn't
now.
he? Yeah.
I'll shut up now. And then what do you think?
I think, no, to be fair, obviously my one about all the other clubs doing the Mr. Bean and just copying off us was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I think what you're saying is bang on. We are trying to now compete with the Man Cities and Liverpools to sign players, which is a lot harder. I also think there's a little bit of Newcastle cleverness here, because when you look back through history, I've just done what you've done, really. But I've just looked back at what happened. So if you remember, before we signed Tonali, we were linked with Nicolo Barella from Inter Milan. And everyone was like, we're never going to get him. And it was kind of like a smoke screen. And then all of a sudden, Tonali had signed, and it was, oh, how have we got him? I thought they were going after Barella. How have we get him? And it was very similar with Isak. Isak wasn't mentioned that much at all, really, other than like 2 or 3 days before he signed. And everyone was talking, I could take it. Oh, hang on. That was maybe a smoke screen, and Isak's come in. And I think I remember it with Botman as well. There was talk of Diego Carlos. Remember, he's at Villa now. There was a big story about Carlos, big smoke screen on Newcastle going to get him. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, nobody had talked about Botman, but Botman comes in. So I think Newcastle are very, very clever at doing this. But Ekitike won this time round, the £70 million bid. It didn't make a lot of sense. I was really excited to imagine like a great strike partnership in the days of Ferdinand and Shearer and Bellamy and Shearer and Cisse and Barr. I was so excited for it. But it just didn't make a lot of sense, does it? Spending £70 million on a position where you don't need immediately. Was Ekitike a smokescreen for maybe a Wissa or somebody else we might see break Monday morning as we're talking now to listeners? Is something going to break where it's like, hang on, Newcastle's in advanced talks with, God knows, somebody we've never heard of, like you've just said, somebody we're going to turn into world class. And Ekitike was just a smokescreen to maybe keep other people talking about things which doesn't make a lot of sense. So Newcastle have done that a lot. I've mentioned 3 examples there with Botman, Isak and Tonali. There's always been another player beforehand who we've missed out on. And I think the club are just doing that again. I think they're very clever. They'll have loads of different targets. You mentioned the guy from Juventus, that Nicolo Savona, young Italian defender. He could come out of nowhere. He could be that player of, we were just sending smoke screens out with Traffords and whatever. And I still think on the Trafford one, if we really wanted Trafford, we would have him by now. Again, I don't know how much of that is. We know Man City have a buyback clause. Can we get City to take him? The Ekitike one might have been, well, look, we want to keep Isak. We would love Liverpool or Man U, who both need a striker, to go in for a guy we go in for. So why don't we have some talks, make a bid, try and sell them a dream, and then we keep Isak? I don't believe this 100%, but when you look back on the examples I've given, it's happened a lot with Newcastle under this regime and under Eddie Howe. It's almost like, for me in my head, it can't happen that many times and it just be a coincidence. I think there is smoke screens sent out, and the Ekitike one didn't make a lot of sense. To £70 million of our budget going on another striker when we need a goalkeeper, a defender, and now Longstaff's left, another midfielder. I think with smoke screens getting sent out again, I think we've done it in the past. I think it's happening now. Don't get me wrong. I think we would have loved Pedro, and I think we would have loved Ekitike. Of course we would have. But I'm not 100% convinced the club went in with the belief of, this is going to be our player. I think when that happens, like Isak, Tonali and Botman, it happens very quickly. So that's kind of a bit of an add to your theory of, are we just kind of trying to play the big teams a little bit? We're also trying to get them. Of course we are. But actually, we've got a full list of players, like you've just said, who we believe can make world class, who are more realistic targets, who will just go under the radar and come in.
So should we expect Tesco signing before lunchtime tomorrow?
There you go. Done. I bet you it's advanced. It's done. Nobody knows about it. And Ekitike was a big smoke screen.
No.
To spend
Hey,
60 million on Sesko.
I said 2 weeks ago, right? This isn't happening. But I did say 2 weeks ago that Arsenal were taking ages to sign Gyökeres.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I heard today that Man United are chasing after him.
Apparently
so. That deal's not done. Would he not crawl over broken glass to play up front with Isak and Elanga?
It's a Swedish trio, isn't it? Could Dia make a bid? Have we been working on it? We've got no idea. That's the thing now, right? You've got so many so-called in-the-know accounts who pretend to know what's going on inside a club, but we've got no idea. The only person who does know is Fabrizio Romano, and he's getting loads wrong recently. He announced somebody signed for Sunderland yesterday, and then announced today that it's actually off completely. So I'm like, even he doesn't know what's going on. I think the clubs are all playing each other a little bit. There's a massive merry-go-round of, well, if he's going to leave, we'll take him off you, but we can't take him off you
Yeah.
until he leaves. It's carnage. You just have to wait, trust the club. And I've said on a previous pod, come the start of the season or come September 1st, we will have, no matter what, whether Isak's there or not, or whether whoever's there or whoever isn't, we will have a team full of players who are one massive group in a great community and family like we've always had at Newcastle under Eddie Howe. We'll all want to be there come September 1st, whoever is there. And we have the best manager in the league to kind of guide them through the Champions League campaign, defending the League Cup, by the way. We defend the trophy this season. The FA Cup as well, go for that, and we've got to do well in the league again. So I trust the club, I trust the ownership. I think there's more than meets the eye here, like I've said about the Carlos situation and the Ekitike situation 2 years ago and the Barella situation. It was all smoke screens to get somebody else. So I think the club know what we're doing. It might not seem like it sometimes, but we just have to keep the faith.
Keep the faith. I will keep the faith, Kev. You've talked me back into it. I'm hoping that they keep training hard as well, so that we can put up a better fist of it against Arsenal out in Singapore.
I think Arsenal's at a similar
Because
stage to us pre-season, so I think you'll see a lot of sloppiness on both sides. Whereas, like I said, Celtic are a month into their pre-season; they're getting ready for the season to start very soon. So, like I say, for us, it's we're behind Arsenal. I think we'll win. I don't know why. I think we'll win.
we always beat Arsenal, don't we?
There you go.
That'll be why. Right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for listening. That's me, Ian Mackay, having hosted you, Kevin Esther, to talk about the lovely Magpies, the terrible outcome of the game yesterday, the typhoon, whirlwind, hurricane, tornado that is the current transfer market.
Keep up with that
And
if you can.
actually, we know as much as you know, as much as anybody else knows about who's coming to Newcastle. We'll leave it there.